guys, how is it going? So I have gotten a lot of questions about why I share so much of my stuff online, especially about marriage counseling. And I just wanted to sit with you guys for a minute and like talk to you about kind of my thought process behind that and just kind of answer some of the questions that I have been seeing down in the comments. So the first one is, why do you even talk about marriage counseling on social media? I made a video about this, I don't know, probably maybe like a month ago, maybe a couple months, but I wanted to talk about like perfection on social media and like how that's a problem and how it can create really unhealthy expectations. I always want you guys to know that I am not a perfect person. I don't live a perfect life. I have a really happy and fulfilled life, but I don't live a perfect life by any means. And so I want to share with you all of the happy and wonderful things that are going on. I want to share with you fun videos like plan with me's and clean with me's and budget with me and all of those things, but I also want to share with you the nitty gritty. You and everybody else out there knows that I am not perfect. I don't pretend to be perfect. I don't want to be perfect. When my husband and I actually first started dating, he would call me perfect and I was like, whoa, those are really high expectations. Like, to call someone perfect is to say that they have no flaws. He then would change it to, you are perfect for me. And so that was just kind of a nice compliment. But I don't ever want anyone to assume that I am perfect, that I have a perfect life, that I have everything going on. While I am blessed in a lot of areas, there are areas of my life that are not perfect, that are not like 100% the best. And that is okay, because life is messy, life is nitty and gritty and all of this stuff, especially when you are young parents trying to build a life, both working. Life can get really messy and yucky sometimes. I just want you guys to know that I am not perfect. Like, that's the first reason why I talk about marriage counseling specifically on my YouTube channel. The next reason why I talk about marriage counseling on my channel is because there is, for whatever reason, kind of a stigma around counseling, and especially marriage counseling. I feel like a lot of people think like marriage counseling is the step right before you get divorced, and a lot of people try it as like a last ditch effort. And I feel like that is even something that I thought before I started marriage counseling. And I'm gonna tell you, like, you probably know from some of my update videos, Brian and I were not in a good place, and we are most days in a pretty good place because we are learning skills. And I don't want people to think that counseling is something that you need to be ashamed of. I'm not ashamed that Brian and I go to counseling. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I talk about marriage counseling because I want to erase the stigma of mental health and of mental health supports from the context of daily life. I want counseling to be something that people talk about. I want counseling to be normal. I want it to be a normal thing that people do, because I would bet you that there are people in your life who you think maybe have it all together, who go to counseling or who have gone to counseling. I've gone to counseling before when I was younger because I struggle with anxiety, and I always have struggled with anxiety, and it got to like kind of a breaking point when I was a kid. I was kind of afraid. Well, I wasn't kind of afraid. I was terrified that I was gonna get left somewhere, that my parents were gonna get injured. I just had all these like worst case scenarios going. And so if you're an anxious person, you know all about that. When I was a kid and a teenager, I was like, I don't ever want anyone to find out that I went to counseling, because there was this stigma. I felt like if people knew that I went to counseling, even as a kid, that they were gonna think that I was crazy. In the same way with marriage counseling, I was thinking that people were gonna think like the worst of my marriage. And honestly, like, I don't care. Like, people can think whatever they want to think. If you want to think that Brian and I are on the edge of getting divorced, that's great. But nobody knows what is going on in my marriage except for Brian and I. I do share some of the stuff, you know, that's going on and the things that we talk about in counseling with some of my close friends. Even they don't know like where we've come from and like every single thing that we have had to work for. I think that if I hear that someone is going to counseling, specifically marriage counseling, you are putting in the work. If you're not married, marriage is hard work. I thought that since Brian and I already had a kid and we already lived together and we were basically like sharing all of our bills, we were doing all of this married stuff before we got married, it was gonna be just fine. Like marriage was just gonna be like a party that we had in these fancy clothes and this paperwork that we signed and this honeymoon that we went on. But I didn't realize that after the wedding that marriage really does change things no matter what stage of life you're in, and it's hard work. So if I hear that somebody is in marriage counseling, I'm gonna applaud you because you are putting in the work that you need to in your marriage. Now, this is not to say that if you're not going to marriage counseling that you're not putting in work. Maybe you guys rock at communication. Brian and I are just so different as far as the way that we communicate. He's very like logical and like wants to explain things, and he's a fixer, which can be really great in a lot of scenarios, but sometimes like as a woman, I just need someone to listen, and I tend to be very emotional. I don't necessarily think in like a logical pattern. I kind of will talk about one thing over here and then one thing over here and then all of this stuff and kind of piece it together, and that's not how he works. He has a tough time following that, and I have a tough time feeling like I'm understood. And so there's just a lot of like communication breakdown, which is I think our biggest struggle. And then we tend to parent somewhat differently. We had a child when we were together for less than a year, and that is really quick. We were really good friends before we got into a relationship, which I think is the base that has always like supported us and like basically saved our marriage. If that's one like piece of marriage advice that I could give to anybody, I would tell you, be best friends with the person that you are gonna marry, because even in the tough times, even when I thought honestly that we were gonna need to like file for divorce, even when we were like at the very end, at the very toughest part of our marriage, I respected him as number one, the other parent of my kids, and as a friend that I had had for all of these years. And it was just the thing that I think pulled us through. I'm kind of rambling. Like I don't have anything planned for this video. I've showed you guys that I have a planner that I track all of our like counseling notes in. I keep track of all the homework stuff that we're supposed to do because I am committed to this process. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to work in my marriage because I'm not somebody who gives up easily. I am here to work and like put in the work. And that is not to say that sometimes a divorce is a positive thing. I can see that side of the coin too. I'm not trying to knock you if you've had a divorce or if you are divorced or whatever, but right now in my life, like I know in my heart that I want to put in all the effort that I can, and Brian and I both want to put in all the effort that we can to make this work. We are committed, we are here, and we are ready to work, and we're ready to just like build up our marriage to a really strong place. Another question that I've gotten is like, where are you guys at like right now? So right now we have a lot more positive days than we do negative days, and there's a lot of factors that influence that. We both work full-time jobs, so it's really hard to see each other. So even during the day, we have to be kind of like making that conscious effort to like reach out to each other and like kind of connect during the day, even if it's just like a text message. So we have a lot more good days than bad days, but that doesn't mean that we are out of the woods. We are still, you know, going to counseling once a week, which I think is a really good amount of time. And the counseling service that we use, this is another question that I get, it's called regain.us, and this is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, by the way. It's like an offshoot of the BetterHelp, and you may have heard that. I've seen lots of content creators do like sponsored content with them, so you may have heard of them on YouTube, or you may have just seen one of their ads, but they're the couples version. And so it is an online platform. So Brian and I can schedule our appointments and both be at work. We do most of our appointments over the phone with our counselor, which is amazing. So if you're a busy working parent and you are like, I want to be in counseling with my partner, I want to do this, I want to put in work in this way, but I just don't know where the time is going to come from, this is a really great resource, and I'll go ahead and link them down below if you want to check them out. I know there are other sites as well, so if you want to research it, but I feel like the cost is also really reasonable. So if you're thinking like, I cannot be paying like $200 an appointment out of pocket because my insurance is not going to cover counseling, which don't even get me started on why insurance needs to cover counseling for everybody. That's like another video. ago. So definitely check them out. So Brian and I we're okay. We are getting better every day. I feel like we're learning about each other again. We're falling in love again is what it feels like some days. Like, it's just really nice to know that we are both in this and like working together, and you know, we're a team. It really does feel like we're a team again. You know, we tag each other in and out of parenting situations, which didn't always happen. You know, we are expressing our needs. We are learning when the good times are to communicate and when we just need to like not talk, you know, when space is needed. So we're learning these things, and I feel like this is kind of my hunch because we moved really, really fast in our relationship. So like I said, we became parents less than a year into our relationship as young people. We were only 20 and 21 when our daughter was born. We didn't really get to learn a lot about, you know, who we were as people, as individual people, and then who we were as a couple before we brought kids into our marriage, which if you don't have kids, at least in my experience, kids change everything. Like, they change everything in such a positive way. Like, I've never loved anything more than I love my kids, but they can also change things in a way that might shock you. You know, we didn't necessarily have all of the skills. We didn't know, like, we never talked about how we were going to parent with each other. We never talked about what that was going to look like. We're also both really different, like financially. Like, Brian really likes to save. He's really good with money, and I'm not. Like, I like to spend money, which is something that I'm working on, as you guys can see in my budget planner. But yeah, there's just a lot of differences, and while opposites attract, and while we have a lot of things in common, I love his sense of humor, and I feel like we get along in that way, and we're really good friends, and we enjoy being around each other. I like to read, and Brian likes it when I read to him, so that is something where we've always connected. And so there's a lot of really positive things, but there's just a lot of things where we've had, I think, some misunderstandings that have just developed overall into tension. So long story short, that is why I talk about counseling on social media, and why I will continue to talk about counseling on social media, and why I don't want anyone to ever be afraid to talk about counseling. So if you're somebody who is in counseling and you feel comfortable sharing, whether you're in marriage counseling or personal counseling or whatever it is, you can leave that down in the comments below, and know that you are here with somebody who gets it, who understands that counseling is normal. Counseling is more than normal. It's awesome, and it's a great thing to do when you just need a little extra support, or if you need somebody to listen or give you advice in another way. So I hope that this video was informative for you guys. I hope that you learned a little bit more about me and any questions that you might have. So keep leaving those questions down in the comments below. I love answering them. I love it when I'm able to turn some questions into a video, because like I said, your questions often inform my content. Like, you guys ask the best questions, and you think of ideas that I would never have ever thought about to put on this channel. So thank you so very much for all of that. If you are new to my channel and you're just stopping by, hi, my name is Caitlin. This is Beans and Monkeys. I talk about a lot of stuff on this channel. As you can see, I talk about mom stuff, I talk about body positivity stuff, I talk about like mental health stuff, and I do a lot of like crafting, planning, organizing, cleaning, that kind of stuff too. So I am a bit of a variety show, but if that is something that you like, if you like a variety of content, hit that red subscribe button down below and join the BAM fam. And if you are one of my current subscribers, thank you so much for all of your lovely support. Your sweet, kind comments have been building me up, and I just love seeing them. So thank you so, so much for all of your love and support. You guys are the best, and here is your internet hug for the day. I love you guys. And if you want more Beans and Monkeys, if you want to find me on other social sites, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And again, all of that is linked down below. And if you did want to check out the regain.us, that is in the description box down below as well. And by the way, you guys, have fun today.